Somebody can check.
You know, all the schools that I work with, everybody's got a sports program. And then Grandview, I just got an email from them. I'm gonna participate in this. They're still in school.
Okay, we are ready.
Everybody else is out like on the 21st.
We are live? Can somebody confirm?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And
All right.
until the 31st.
Welcome, everyone, to the March 11th Board of Directors meeting for Académie Lafayette. The first thing we need to do is approval of the meeting agenda. I do have one amendment to the agenda, and it discusses that we're approving the February minutes, but we're actually going to be approving January and February minutes. Stakeholder comments, I don't believe we have any. So let's go into approving the January and February meeting minutes. Can I get,
Do we need to approve the agenda?
oh, sorry, thank you. Yes, I'm like moving along. Okay. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's amended agenda?
So moved, Gwen.
Second, Jen.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. Now, no stakeholder comments. We do need to approve the minutes from January and February.
Okay.
So, can I get a motion to approve the January and February?
So moved, Beth.
Second, Jen.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Lauren's quick with that hand raise virtually, I love it.
Nice work, Lauren.
Yeah. All right, motion carries. And we did not have a PTO report tonight, right? Okay. So, we have a special guest. I think it'd be great, yeah, people can see.
Some of you may know me.
What do we?
Oh, and Libby, I was saying, you were one of the families I helped recruit.
You remember you very well?
Full circle.
You do an amazing job.
Yeah. So we are here tonight with Show Me KC Schools. How many of you at the board table are concerned about enrollment? I'm here to tell you tonight, basically the synopsis of my whole performance tonight is to tell you that it's not you. Who's driving?
Yeah.
I'll let you go to slide number 2. You work with Show Me KC Schools in many ways, but specifically here tonight we'll be talking about School App KC. So you all are part of School App KC, which is a common app system. You're on that app with 27 total schools, including you. I'll let you go to the next slide. And because of that common app, we have really good data about what's happening in the landscape in KC. So we are seeing declining enrollment. We actually have been warning you all about this for 2 to 3 years now. Maybe it's a little bit of a boy who cried wolf situation, but we've said this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. In fact, last year we saw a 1% increase. So it's really weird, but today it's a landslide. So app-wide, we're down about 250 students in pre-K and K, almost entirely concentrated in those 2 grades. In fact, we're seeing a growth in high school. So it's very strange that it's just in those 2 grade levels. And we suspect that it has a couple of things that are contributing to that. So right now, AL has I'll let you stay on that previous slide. Sorry, I was talking and not reading my slides. AL has the highest number of kindergarten applications, sitting at lottery time at about 230, which is 100 over any other school. So you actually are doing a great job. It's the landscape. So you will not have a wait list this year, and almost no one will. And actually, if we're being honest, this is kind of a place we always wanted to be, where every child had a seat at their school of choice. So feel good about it, that it's a good thing. In 2019-2020, there are about 849 kindergarten seats available in the system. And today there is 1,033. So we've actually seen an increase in the number of seats available while there is a decrease in the number of children for those seats. So that's also contributing to that no wait list situation. In 6 years, I actually went back to look. In the 6 years within the app, you actually haven't had a long wait list in any of those years. Folks seem to think that expansion is the way to meet the need when we have a decreased enrollment. Let's add another classroom and take more kids. It's actually contraction would be a better way to look at it. In 2013, 2014, there were 2,488 kindergartners system-wide. Fast forward to 10 years, we have 292 less students today. This is the new normal.
And this is Kansas City.
Can you go back one?
Kansas City Metro,
Oh, no, forward one, sorry.
public, charter, and private.
So the numbers that I'm sharing with you today, some are district as a whole, and that includes private schools. But the numbers that I'm talking about in the app are only the charters that are participating. It does not include Allen Village, SBN, or Frontier.
Okay.
I'm sorry about as we transferred over PowerPoints, things got squished. And this was actually transferred 3 times. So as a part of our group, we are also part of an MIT fellowship for school access and quality, and we really rely on that fellowship to get really good data from MIT about the country as a whole. So this is not a Kansas City issue. This is actually a countrywide issue, and actually several other countries are also experiencing this issue. Will you go to the next slide? So this is data out of MIT. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So this slide talks about a decrease in birth rate, which is the #1 contributing factor to what we're seeing with low K and pre-K. And I think that you will also note that you all usually have about half of your incoming kindergarten class as siblings. This year it was quite a bit less than half. It was around 70. So that again tells me that this is a birth rate decline. So next slide. So as I said, it's not just happening in the United States, but it is happening a lot in the United States compared to other countries. Go ahead and go to the next slide. The other thing that we're seeing is an urban exodus. And I would say anybody who is in power, has connections to city officials, really start having those conversations or continue having those conversations about families being outpriced from living in the city. The increase in rental, single family owned, and I think the Beacon did a really good article about this about 3 weeks ago, talking about how single family owned properties are dwindling because they're owned by big corporations. So we have a mass urban exodus and people are moving to rural and suburban areas. And again, this just shows that exodus and how far it's jumped from the 70s to today. Again, showing that where we're seeing the incline is actually in rural and suburban areas. People are moving out of cities. This kind of gives a little bit of an idea on which counties are actually seeing an increase and a decrease, but you can see that it is not just happening in Kansas City. So one thing that you can look at to mitigate some of your loss is that what we will see is the highest population growth happening in the Hispanic and Latinx population, and specifically in undocumented migrants. So be prepared to serve those families well and to start recruiting those families. Again, same slide, just talking about the increase in migrant populations. This is the other thing that I find a little bit scary. Missouri is one of 13 states in the United States that does not have any reporting whatsoever with regard to homeschool. And this slide is telling us that the homeschool population and the charter school population are now almost equal across the country. So that's another reason you're seeing a decline in school-aged children. So again, declining birth rates, urban exodus, migration is actually bringing children in, and then choice is pushing children out. I will also tell you that last year, 47% of the parents using the app to go from one school to the next were leaving their school because they were unhappy where they were, or they perceived something better on the other side. That is not directed at Académie Lafayette in any way, that's system-wide. And this year it's 51%, so it's actually increased. So again, declining enrollment across the country, not an Académie Lafayette specific issue. And so this just gives you an idea of who's seeing growth and who's seeing flat and who's seeing an increase. Again, Kansas City wasn't seeing a huge decline until this year, so we won't actually have those DESI numbers. I can only give you anecdotal from what's in the app. Again, about 250 PK and K students down. I will also tell you that because I have kids at KCPS, I get daily texts saying, kindergarten enrollment happening now, which tells me that they're also down. I've spoken with Frontier and Allen and SVN, and they're also down.
So what's this slide showing us then?
It's who's seeing a decrease, who's seeing an increase, and who's showing flat numbers. It's a confusing slide. I didn't make it. I borrowed it from MIT. I'm gonna go ahead and go. There we go. So retention is now more important than ever, and this is where I pulled those stats on why I'm leaving my current school. So we all talk about as a city that 10% of families that are relocating due to houselessness. And while that is a big issue, the bigger issue is that families are leaving by choice and perceiving something better on the outside. So I think that you have to start looking at what your current numbers are as far as retention or attrition. You have to start looking at where you sit with that compared to last year's. How are you working to keep your families? Are you doing surveys? Are you engaging your families? Again, 51% are leaving because they're unhappy, and that's not Académie Lafayette, again, system-wide. And then within School App KC, you are losing about 54 kids each year, and that's mostly in high school. So kids leaving 8th grade and going on to high school. So recruitment is now more important than ever, and I can give you some ideas on how to get kids across the finish line. There are way more seats than there are kids, so it is more important now to act like you are a business that is seeking to serve your customers.
Yeah.
So you will need to spend money on social media and digital marketing. Luckily, you have an expert in the room, not me, to help you figure that out. You need to attend as many recruitment fairs as you can. I know that we are invited to those all the time. Any sort of tabling events, anytime that you can get out in the public. Because of the Hispanic population, and I don't make these recommendations lightly, know that I'm just giving them. It's yours to do with whatever you choose. But because of the increase in Spanish population, you should probably look at how you're serving Spanish-speaking families. Like, do you have somebody who can speak Spanish if someone calls? Are you sending information home in multiple languages? Are you producing your marketing material in Spanish? Are you attending events in Spanish or Spanish neighborhoods? Are you using your existing events? Like I did say that you had that wonderful ethnic food festival. That was a great opportunity to show people what AO is all about. Any sporting event that you have, if you have families who are on the fence and haven't chosen, invite them to those sort of events. And then are you using your existing parent population? Because I'm sure that you know, you have the movers and shakers of the city in the school. It is really incumbent that you kind of use them to help you do some of that recruiting whenever possible. Other possible solutions. So again, we saw an increase in high school, and it's actually interestingly in both sectors. So it's not one sector, charter taking from KCPS or KCPS taking charter, both are increasing. So that could be a couple of different things. It could be that people are choosing not to move out of the city and to a rural area or suburban area for high school because we have better choices. Could be that they're not putting their kids in private school and instead putting their kids in public school. And it could be also that there are more choices and more seats in high school, but we are growing in high school in both sectors. I will tell you that SLIS, which is a school in St. Louis that is French immersion, also offers Mandarin and Spanish. Their Spanish classrooms are always highly enrolled, so it could be a thought. I know years ago, at one point in time, Académie Lafayette did talk about doing a Spanish track, and you could totally keep that classroom enrolled. And then also, SLIS started taking kids in 2nd and 3rd grade because they were seeing a decline in those French classes. So they started taking kids in 2nd and 3rd grade with just extra tutelage to kind of get them up to that grade level. Also something to consider. And then is there potential to grow the high school? Again, I don't say any of these things lightly because I know they impact the system as a whole quite largely. I don't know if there is there a last one?
Is it the last one or what?
That might be the last one. If it is, then questions.
All right, what questions do we have for Leslie?
I mean, I think it's very helpful perspective to just see what is the landscape. I knew that was the case, but it's helpful to put numbers to it, so I appreciate it.
Nobody is seeing large growth, nobody is seeing large wait lists. It's not a thing. And I don't know that it'll ever get back to that.
Right. But, I mean, to your point, that was our goal. That's why we expanded so much, is
Yeah.
so we wouldn't have a wait
I
list.
mean,
We
I
could meet the
remember
needs
the
of
days of
families.
400 people on a wait list, and the whole point of that was to be able to expand to the point where we no longer had a wait list.
Right.
So you did exactly what you set out to do.
But I think the points about retention are relevant and about the Hispanic communities.
All right, well, thank you all for having me, and I'm always available for questions. We're happy to be partners with Académie Lafayette, and we're happy to help anytime.
Are we gonna go back to those slides somewhere?
Yeah, that's just what I was gonna ask.
Yeah, they were in the board folder.
Okay.
I missed them then. Sorry.
They were in a separate, they weren't within the presentation, they were in a
Okay.
separate file.
I thought I looked.
Maybe you looked before we got them in there. Thank you, Leslie. All right, what's next? I'm guessing governance. But I'm guessing.
My presentation.
Okay.
Okay, how do you escape? Yes, go back to here. Slowly. Good.
Okay. Next slide. Governance.
All right, I think everybody met. Olivier, thank you for joining us. We're very excited
Yeah.
to have you on the board, partially because of your amazing financial background and the knowledge that you bring, which was definitely a gap. We need that expertise, but also just your long-standing commitment to the school.
Yeah.
So we are thrilled to have you a part of the board.
Thank you.
So thank you for joining us. You all should have all seen the email. We are also recruiting for a new parent-elect position, which is due March 29th. We are planning to do just a general session for parents who have questions about what is the board, what's the commitment they're making. Initially, we were thinking this week. We actually decided not to. We're going to do it after spring break so that parents have more time to think about it, get their applications ready, and then see what questions they have. So we're excited to do the information session, and then Council Nicole they typically, based on the applications that are received, they narrow it down to 2 candidates, and the 2 candidates are what parents vote on, essentially. Other details that you would want to share, Mr. Mang, about the parent-elect?
We were talking about it this Thursday, for a concert I called, got ready, and interview will be, we have planning, interview will be in early April, and then the election is first week of May. We have a calendar that we shared at the last meeting. I don't know yet if you have any candidate is going to be. So, what candidates? We'll check it after, if what you have, but we need to send it again and again to try to recruit heavily for parents to get more candidates.
And I do think if anybody knows parents that they think would be a good fit, definitely talk. It is always, they're more likely to join the board if they talk to somebody they know. So if you can think of anybody that would be a good fit as a parent-elect member, definitely encourage them to apply or reach out and attend the info session.
What profile are we looking for?
I mean, I think in general, we would love to have more financial expertise, so that is always a gap. Fundraising knowledge, real estate knowledge. We have a lot of real estate pieces we own numerous buildings, and so we don't have any real estate knowledge. We always need more legal input. Other things that you would say?
Education.
Yes, education background, just an understanding of what does it take to really move the dial in education. It is very difficult work, and so.
For this one, unfortunately, what I have in control is who we hire.
Right,
Who
So,
will be elected?
who we elected.
right,
Okay.
right. But we can encourage them to
Yeah,
apply.
if people can apply, and after it's gonna be an election, both the parents will I think we shall run one time. People runs here, you will,
I started as a parent-elect.
and Jennifer too.
And is there usually a lot of
I lost.
candidates, like, or?
No, there's usually 3 or 4. It's usually a small group.
Yeah, it depends on years. When we started, we had up to 7 candidates. And then we dwindled it down to maybe 3, 4. We've had 6 candidates, we have 5, we've had, I think one year we had to do 2 days of interview. Yeah. But hopefully we'll have more than 2.
But I think oftentimes parents don't have a clear understanding of who the board is. What is the role we play? And that's a regular conversation we have, is how do we help parents better understand what this board does and what we don't do. So I think part of it is just, we don't have a great deal of awareness among parents. And the other part is just that they're not sure what on earth we do. So yes, think about if you know of anybody that you would encourage to apply. The board retreat has been finalized for June 15th. So if we haven't gotten it out yet, we'll put a calendar invite.
So there's a calendar.
There is, okay, I don't remember if I've seen that. And that is the same as our yearly sort of retreat where we come together and just look at where are we in the strategic plan and hear updates to think about how far have we come and what are our goals for the future. So that's always a great opportunity to just sort of take a step back from the day-to-day stuff that we do in this meeting. And then the board draft, you want to share?
Yeah, so the Black KC board draft is April 6th. And this year we will know 4 days in advance what lottery pick we have for that.
So what number we
What
are?
number we are in terms of picking. So we've identified, we've met with several candidates. Lisa was there, Lauren was there, Mr. Bang was there, and we did a kind of speed dating session with them. We had an earlier session where we met some. We have a couple who are going to come and tour the school, and so we're moving that right along. So.
I'm sorry, what is Black KC?
It's an African American organization that encourages African American people to be on board, school boards.
And they do a really extensive, they recruit candidates who are interested in being charter school board members, and they send them out of town for governance training. They do a whole lot of preparation with them to help them understand, like, you know, what is a charter school, what is the role of a board member, and then all of the governance. So TJ, we got TJ from the last. Hey TJ.
Yeah, I was gonna add a couple of recommendations. You know, between Ryan Long, Holcomb, Nagumsey, or Alexander Green. Those 3 candidates are very solid.
Awesome.
But I have been really impressed with just the quality of candidates that they recruit, because it's a struggle for charter schools to find community members to serve on boards, and yet they play a really critical role in the process, so they definitely fill a gap. They just started this 2 years ago, and so the first charter board draft happened 2 years ago. Now it was definitely successful, so they decided to do it again.
So how does this work? Does everyone get an opportunity to match with someone? I mean, I guess the draft ranking,
So
how does that work?
they modeled it after like an NFL
Sure.
draft. And so there are 8 charters participating. And so based on what draw you get in terms of what order you get in, then you say which candidate you choose. And so you have to have kind of lined up your, the candidates.
In order,
And you're like, oh, someone got that one. And
I find it an unusual process. I want the candidates to have a say, and so that's part of the pre-work is meeting with candidates to see who would be interested in serving on the Lafayette board, to make sure you don't have somebody on your list that's like, oh no, I don't want to serve, right? So I wish that was a bigger piece of the process, but I think we can do that ourselves to know that anybody that we nominate is interested in doing it.
all right. Stephen and the
Okay.
Finance Committee.
Yes, so the Finance Committee. So first item is the February accounts payable transactions. And so when we were talking about the transactions, one additional one that Harriet asked about was in the PTO cash disbursements, and that was, there was a refund of $686, and that was a net payment, net refund payment to one of the students that's no longer going on the 7th grade trip. And so after the refunds that Language and Friendship issued, there was still $686, and so we refunded that deposit to that student. Did anyone have any additional questions over the accounts payable transactions? If not, we'll need a motion to approve the February 2024 accounts payable transactions.
So moved.
I second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
Next item here is the finance report. So the bottom of your screen there, that's where we have 6 months worth of revenues, expenses, and the changes in our balance sheet essentially, some cash flow adjustments. So from that cash in, cash out perspective, so the amount of cash that we started with in July through January, we've spent more than we received by $470,000. And a big chunk of that is, the buses that we purchased back in October, but also we budgeted $1 million for ESSER 3 funds. We're expecting to receive those in April, about maybe May. There is a slight hold up there. There's a budget revision still happening. I was in contact with our accountants over the weekend, and they gave me some verbiage to update one of the budget items with DESE, and so hoping to get that submitted this week so that everything still lines up for this ESSER 3 monies.
What's the change in relation to?
Just what actually happened with the ESSER 3 funds.
But we have full confidence that that money is still.
So I have
Got a lengthy conversation.
We did have a
Hey,
lengthy conversation about this.
Yeah. You won't say 100.
I will not say 100, but 95% certain on that.
It hasn't raised like to 96 since last.
Maybe 96 now, thanks Michelle. Cumulatively, July through January, this is the third party financial statements. So we've received 11.7 million, we spent 11.8 million. And that includes those buses that we purchased back in September, October. And so that's showing a net loss of $128,000. That would be close to break even, but we are $50,000 positive side, but we did spend $175,000 in January on Chromebooks and iPads, and we're getting that E-rated is what the plan is on that, so it should be a wash, so we should see that money come back in, so just wanted to point that out. We would be break even or actually on the positive side if that wasn't the case. Those are the financial statements that the accountants prepared for us. Next item that we want to talk about, and that is the outstanding notes payable. So last finance committee, Michelle asked for me to put together a list of all of the debt that the school has. And so for finance committee, I had 1 through 7 there, and then added on 8 and 9. And for the AL real estate entity. And so this is all the debt. I did include the Apple lease on there because that we started out with a balance at the beginning of the year, $2,000 balance, but that was paid off in July. And then same thing with the Chromebook lease, there's just a little dab left where there'll be a final payment in this upcoming July. But I really wanted to draw your attention to item number 2 there, the Country Club Bank CCB refi / Cherry loan. So when we bought the Cherry and did the remodel work there, and then we refied Oak into that, there is still $3 million left on that. And that, there's 2 loans in there. It's called loan A and B, but I've consolidated in just one line just for simplicity here. And so those mature in April. And so that item number 2 matures in April, and so we need to renew that particular loan. And also, our line of credit, which is not listed here because there's no principal balance when we carry a zero balance on that. That also needs to be renewed in April. And so just wanted to make you aware of the debt that we have, and then we'll also ask for approval to renew those loans with Country Club Bank here in just a moment. But did anybody have
Have we
questions?
begun those discussions yet about renewing?
Yes.
And everything looks
It's, so with interest rates, they're obviously not as favorable as they were
right.
some years back. So we're looking at like a 7% interest rate over either 15 or 20 years. They won't do 25 unless we did like, the way I understand it is an appraisal. So if we had major changes that we did to those buildings that they would need to reassess essentially, then they do 25 years potentially. But we're looking at a 20-year or 15-year amortization there. And anybody have any additional questions about
What's our interest rate now?
4.5%?
Yeah, that's a big.
Yes.
We have someone trying to get in the front door to attend. Thank you.
So worst
Can
case,
I close at the 7%? Can we refinance in a few years if the rates go down, or are we locked in?
so I think every 5 years, if we look at the covenants, and we can do that in more detail if we wanted to, but it will refinance every 5 years.
Okay.
But I don't believe we're locked in, and that's something I could clarify, for sure, if that's a.
Maybe the rates are supposed to come down, so if it becomes material.
Any other questions?
Which one of these is the Armor building?
So the top one, the source loan,
That's Armor.
that's part of Armor, and then number 9 there, second from the bottom, that's also, 8 and 9, excuse me, those are part of Armor essentially. What's kind of interesting too is number 9 there, at 4.8 million, if you look at our balance sheet, the school's balance sheet, we have an asset that's due to the school of 4.8 million, and it's that same 4.8 million. In that new market tax credit transaction, the school got a loan for $4 million
Yeah.
and $862,000. And so we loaned that into the new market tax credit transaction, for lack of better terms, and it helped finance that transaction. And it's interesting because it shows up in both places. So it's pretty much like a wash. So really, I could have shown that as 0 because it's an asset on our books and a liability on books. So they eliminate to an extent. Clear as mud.
Yes, clear as mud.
So the real debt is $10 million?
Yeah, you can say that.
Yeah, so you can remove the 17 million goes down by,
Yes. And one additional thing we talked about also is in 2025, the new market tax credit transaction kind of collapses on itself to an extent. And there's debt that's forgiven at that point. And I think it was you, Michelle, that said about 2.5 million gets forgiven approximately at that point, assuming that everything happens like it should. Just going back to the Country Club Bank, our renewing, I was looking at that, and so our current payment monthly is $23,000, and best case scenario, that would increase by just about $500. So we're looking at just about a $5,000, $5,600 increase annually. Worst case scenario is the debt service payment would go up $4,700, which is $56,000 increase to our debt service. So it's quite a swing there. But that's the difference between a 15-year amortization, which would be in the worst case, and at the highest 7%. Best case is over a 20-year amortization with a 6.75% interest rate. And that's all assuming too that interest rates don't increase in the next month. Maybe they'll go down. So we'll ask for the board to, we'll ask for a motion to renew the Country Club Bank's notes payable that mature in April 2024 and to renew the Country Club Bank line of credit. I did want to also just make sure I also state what will actually be on the resolution. So we'll renew the line of credit with Country Club Bank in the amount of $360,000 for an additional 2 years. And then Académie Lafayette will renew its Cherry Street, Kansas City, Missouri property loan A and loan B from Country Club Bank in the amount of the current principal balances and no additional dollars to be added to the principal balances aside from any applicable closing costs. Can we have a motion for?
But you don't have to repeat that.
Yes.
Okay, so moved. Do we have a second?
A second.
Any discussion?
Was there anything, any discussion in the finance committee that we should be aware of in regards to it? Was there
It
support?
was really just about interest rates.
Yeah. It was kind of technical.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Or any opposed? All right, motion carries.
And I'm in favor. Sorry, I didn't get the hand up quick enough.
And so, Michelle, you'll have to wet sign that. I mentioned that in the finance committee. The wet sign the loan documents is what we'll have you do. And then Lauren, we'll just have you sign the board resolution.
Okay.
And I'll send that to you.
Okay.
The last item I wanted to talk about here is just an update on attendance and how that affects the budget. So February is on the right, March is on the left. So enrollment in March is 1345, and if we apply 92% attendance, which right now in Tyler it's 94%. So I'm going a little conservative here. We've had some issues with Tyler in the past on attendance and the percentages. So just using 92%, I feel fairly confident with that. So average daily attendance is 1237. We add in our pre-K of 10. We have LEP, an LEP count as well that gets added to the weight, and that's 4.6, 4.7. We add in the summer school, 106. So that gets us a weighted average daily attendance of 1358. And we multiply that by the 11,308. So the state formula is 15.3, 15.4 million. We budgeted 15.1. So difference there is a positive $237,000. Now, of course, if we are at 94%, that's even more. But for our purposes here, we're talking about 92%. Comparing that to February, we lost 3 students. When we were in finance, I said 1. But I just finalizing my slides, it was 3. And so those 3 students is $31,000 essentially.
Kind of costly.
Yeah. Any questions over attendance or our basic formula payment?
No.
How does attendance compare to prior years? Is it sort of typical?
Well, historically, we would plan for 95% attendance. However, last year was 92. I think the prior year was like 89%.
Yeah, like post-COVID.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah,
gotten back
prior
up.
years, prior COVID and post-COVID.
Prior
Prior
COVID,
COVID,
we
we
had
had
95.
95.
So we can, I mean, there's a goal that we can
And a
climb back.
retention rate of 95 or 96%.
Separate finance question. Do we have any updates? I mean, I saw the notice that Armor got about unpaid taxes. Are there any updates?
There's no update to that. Michael Bland's helping us with that.
It was sort of surprising.
Extremely. We're an educational institution, and on Jackson County's website, it shows that we have that educational exemption. There's 0 taxable value listed there.
Right.
So we're still in a slight holding pattern. Worst case scenario, we'll pay the $7,600, which I'm doing, but we are not going to lose, we're not going to lose billing over that. And I think you guys would be in agreement.
Right.
do that. And that's what the finance agreed on too.
Yeah.
Since we didn't have a decision on that, that's why I didn't bring it up.
All right, I think development is next.
Okay, yes, hi. Musketeer Marches, if you want to go to the next slide. I think I did it all on one slide for everybody. Woohoo.
Just to make sure. Hold on.
Okay. Hello. Musketeer Marches, so we have an event goal of $75,000. So this was, I'm just stating, it was updated from 40,000, which I think I shared in a different meeting. Based off of last year, we got $75,000 when we had a goal of 30, I think, 30 or 40. So anyway, notable here, just the dates that we are doing that. It's a pretty lofty event goal, and it is technically a 14-day fundraiser, but really they start pushing heavily from the fundraising standpoint in 7 days. So it's really a lot of money to raise in 7 days, but the kids get very excited about it. I will gladly take any and all support to get the word out about it. If you have kids, please register them. It's free to register. Every kid participates regardless. But they do really love it ends in a big race, lapathon basically, and the kids really have a great time those days. High schoolers are doing some more fun incentives this year too, so hopefully we can get everybody involved. Yeah. Evening in Paris is also coming up just a week and a half after that. Our goal for Evening in Paris is $128,000. We are doing really well from a ticket sales standpoint. I think we've got about 15 tickets left available from our original goal of 300 tickets. We have more space, so if we hit that, which I think we will hit that, we do have the availability to open if it makes sense, but we do want it to be a comfortable, enjoyable evening for everybody who is, paying to come participate in this night. We are still welcoming auction item sponsorships, underwriting opportunities, ideally through April 5th. If we want to get them sooner, I will welcome anything sooner. Auction items, I think the auction committee set a deadline for March 20th, just so that we can make sure that everything gets uploaded. But I will take sponsorships gladly through April 5th.
And by sponsorships,
it can be a variety of things. So we have a variety of sponsorship levels, and I can send it out to everybody too if that would help, so you can have that documentation. And then we have some underwriting opportunities as well that are, the sponsorship levels are set prices at $5,000, $2,500, and $1,000. And you get various marketing and social media and a recognition throughout the night, as well as tables and tickets. And then underwriting is dependent on what is being underwritten.
Right.
Yeah.
And is there purposeful outreach to some funders that maybe used to provide funding but aren't currently, so doing small dollar event stuff?
Yes, so I have my documentation from the last couple of years is iffy, but the committee who did this before has wonderful documentation. So we have a lot of, the committee itself is made up of a lot of people who did this event in the past, and so they have been reaching out to groups who have supported us, community members who have supported us in the past. Similar with sponsorships too, we have some good sponsors that are coming back from the past as well. And then ideally, we will also be, I don't say ideally, we will also be making sure that past community members, like prior board members and other people who are involved with getting the school going, have an opportunity to attend as well and participate how they see fit. We will also be doing a 25th anniversary celebration of sorts there, recognition for those people in our community who helped start the school, and so we really want to make sure that they come to the event as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks. I mean, it's a wonderful committee. They have really hit the ground running. I'm so thankful for that. And then last I have here is we have hired an events and volunteer coordinator. Woo! Holly Long. She will be starting on Monday, 3/25, the day we get back from spring break. And I'm excited. She's got a history in education and in fundraising, so I think it's a good fit for this team.
Awesome. Congratulations. I think that was a long time coming.
And it was good. So, yeah. Thank you.
What is the volunteer coordinator? Is it conflict
Yes.
fundraising or in general?
Everything. So we're wanting with the development department. So my role is essentially overseeing all development. So that means fundraising, also grants, community relationships, press, communication items like that. And then Holly, from an events standpoint, she will likely be running most of our signature events, so the Musketeer March, the raffle, et cetera. And then we would like to get a strong, and I'm looking at Jessie because she's been doing a lot of this, a strong volunteer database going, not just of volunteers to help with events, but any volunteer at the school. So making sure we've got the background checks, we know the strengths, and we've got that all documented and easy to pull down when we need to find that information. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You see an error in the agenda. The agenda lists the January accounts payable transactions. We went through the February.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if we need to fix that or not. Wanted to point that out.
Okay.
I think the motion to approve it was, so I think we're
Perfect.
I
good.
think we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is for the semester one student discipline report. We do it twice a year, once now, and the next one generally is in June, July, or August when we come back with the second semester. This is, as you see, number of incidents and number of incidents for K5 and 611, I see the 612. The number of out of school suspension incidents is 27 for K5, which is 1,000 students around that, and 24 for 380 students for 612. And I see in K5 mainly in 6th grade that we have more in-school suspension, and also 2nd grade. And for number of incidents for middle and high school, we have more in 6th grade over there. In fact, 5th grade and 7th grade and 8th grade, I would say. This is the number of students. Over there, first we have 27 incidents for 22 students for K5. In 612 is 24 incidents for 19 students. Now we broke it down by ethnicity here. White 1.5%, meaning, well, this is the number of students, based on the number of students. Black we have 21 out of 251, which is 8.37. And Hispanic 4%, Asian 0, and multiracial 0. Total is 2.75 of our students had out of school suspension. Below is by gender, boys, male is 4% and female 2%. So I know there's some discrepancies here because the same student is in school suspended and out of school suspended, it creates, you have to count them twice. That's the issue.
And so how,
Go ahead.
I was saying, how does it compare? Is it growing, decreasing? How does it compare with other schools?
That's
Are we
a good
doing
question.
good?
I need to get back to look at, maybe one thing we need to add of our committee, the trend for the last few years.
Yeah.
Maybe it would be helpful to look at it.
And I do think it's always helpful to see unique numbers. Like I appreciate in the last slide that we see the unique numbers of students, but this is duplicate, right? So like what's the total number of Black students that have in-school or out-of-school suspension? Because we don't know how that gets skewed there.
I mean, between the 10 and 11, there's double counting, is that what you're saying, Beth?
If they had more than one incident.
Correct. Or no, if they, so I think these are
number of students.
Right, these are numbers of students, but if a student received both in school and out of school, then they're double counted.
So it might be 21 kids, it might be fewer than that.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think regardless, I think when we look at this data, we see an overrepresentation of our Black students in here that is worrisome, and I know is something that your team is talking about.
Yeah.
On the slide before, I think it was 27 students K through 5.
Yeah.
One more.
I think it was one more.
Incidents.
Incidents. Is that average? Does that seem high? Or do we not know from the?
So, you mean up there?
Yeah, in terms of, I think I was surprised to see a higher number of incidents K through 5.
No, really, you're talking about 1,000 students.
Oh, there's more kids.
Oh, there's
Out
more
of
kids.
1,000.
Okay.
This is out of 382.
Right.
But it is still heartbreaking to see suspensions in kindergarten and first grade. I know those are very difficult situations to deal with. It is
So
very
the problem is kindergarten, because every time we have these issues, we try to look at legal advice. Sometimes we're suspending out of, what liabilities.
Right.
So if you don't do anything, a kid harm another one, hurt somebody,
Right.
you may be liable for negligence.
Right.
So it's a huge discussion about K and 1 especially, and sometimes it's hard.
Yes, I get sometimes you have to make those
And
decisions.
you will talk about 1 or 2 kids per building maximum. That arrive at the level where you have to suspend them after trying to work with the parents. But that's hard.
So what is in-school suspension exactly?
So suspension is the kid come to school but go to another class.
For the whole day?
Yeah. The whole day.
And so we have staff to supervise the kids who are,
Pardon?
we have staff that supervises the kids who are in
Yeah,
school.
you go to another class.
Oh, another, like with another teacher?
Yes.
So it's just not your own
Not
classroom.
your own class.
I see.
Or your own grade level.
And at a school, they have to stay at home.
Yeah, out. We have, I think the person was suggesting that for the board to see what causes, out of school suspension.
Right, I think it's always helpful to have a reminder of, yes, what
I'll show you that.
what leads to that.
So, the Saturday school is another way to avoid suspension. If a child continues to disrupt classroom or doing certain things, instead of sending them home, we give them more school. We bring them on Saturday here to work on different things. In the past, some students chose to be on Saturday school to come and finish the work. It's kind of voluntary. It's a possibility that some kids come for voluntarily.
So not as a punishment, but
Not
just,
a punishment.
okay.
It may happen, but it's when they have a project to finish and they want the teacher to help them. But this is mainly for consequences.
Sure.
No comes. So if you look at 7th grade, that you have much more than any other grade. You're talking about 23%. I know we had a discussion about this last school year. We changed the formula. It's now for the whole month 3 times, as opposed to 3 months 3 times. Yeah. And 7th grade mainly. As you move forward, you have less students, of course, joining for 1 kid in 12th grade, for instance, 2 kids for 11th grade, and 0 in 10th grade, 9th grade too. But it's mainly middle school where you have 7th grade more than anywhere else.
How many staff are here on Saturdays?
Depends on the number of kids coming. We try to make sure that we have at least 1 male and female, at least. even if it's one kid.
It's usually two.
Were the issues with the 7th grade the same last year with 6th grade? Is it like that particular class that's difficult, or is it like the fact that there's more? Is it 7th grade that's difficult, or is it that particular cohort that's going to move across?
I won't label the class, but they're having some challenges since 5th grade.
Oh, that particular class.
This is the first class group that come from 2 schools. Okay. But there are some challenges, but I think it's getting better than in 6th grade last year.
Okay.
Yes.
This is Dr. Sanders, and I have a question, and it's back on the ethnic breakdown. It had the number of discipline issues with African American children. It was 8.37%, I believe. And I wanted to know the enrollment. How does that compare to the enrollment? How many African American children are in the school?
Yeah, it's there. It's on the slide. You talk about this one. You mean?
That is correct. Yes.
You see total enrollment here? It's 250, 51.
251 kids.
We're talking about 21 kids suspended out of 251 enrollment.
Okay.
If you look at the line below the red one, above the red one,
yes,
right
I do see.
That's the total enrollment. Dr. Sanders work with school.
Would it make sense to track by honor, like we're tracking by race and gender, but could we track by socioeconomic?
Right, that was one of the things that we did talk about in committee.
Yeah.
But typically, we don't do all that dig out with first semester data. So like trend data, things like that, we'll be looking at that.
Because it might help us address causes.
And one of the discussions that we had was triangulating that data a little bit more.
So the problem with socioeconomic is the people who are doing this at the school level, they may not have access to the free and reduced data. Who is free and reduced financial?
Right. But it does help, to your point, to address what's the underlying cause potentially, right? Are there challenges outside of school that maybe the student struggles to come to school and able to be present because of just significant obstacles, or is it something in the classroom, right? So understanding what is the cause that is leading us to?
I know one case that, because generally when it's serious, I know about what's going on. One case I know of is a student with significant challenges and who's living with grandma and a lot of issues, of course. And but it might be also, I've known also kids who are free and reduced and having behavior issues too.
Right.
But as you say, trying to cross the data and find out what if there's any other criteria or reality that it's single family or reading the grandma or great grandma, and also free reduce, and that's tougher to figure it out unless it's a case that we know.
Right, how to best address it.
What is the process like from the time the child has a negative reaction or experience in the classroom to the child's actually put in either in school or out of school? What is the process? Is there a checks and balances system for the educator or the teacher between teacher saying, hey, this kid is acting bad today, he needs to in or out of school? Is there a checks and balances system to confirm that whatever behavior warrants the said in school or out of school suspension?
So this is what we have come from school website. It's the reason why kids are having, it's elementary school. Type 1, and for suspension, it's mainly here at the type 3. We have Saturday school, not elementary, out of school suspension, dismissal is this type of violation, vandalism, stealing, and if you do it repeated, or possession of drug, physical assault.
So this is what you have to do in order to get it in school or out of school?
Yes, or repeated type 2, if you repeat it, type 2.
Oh, it's multiple type 2 or one type 3 both.
Multiple type 2.
But is there a checks and balance? Because I'm honestly surprised to see that just because of my time in the classroom and things that have happened since me even being here in the classroom, like that I definitely have had kids in the classroom who had Saturday school.
Or something on here.
No, it's absolutely nothing on there.
Oh.
So.
Oh, no, this is ISS and OS.
You
didn't put Saturday.
Saturday school's to the lab.
Oh, okay.
It's minor.
Okay, so Saturday school is lesser than in school?
Yes.
Because I thought it was comparable to in school.
No. Saturday school is not going to your right record anyway.
Okay.
It's only a nuisance for the family and the kids.
Okay.
And not,
That was a great question. I'm glad we got that clarified.
Right. And I don't think parents have clarity around how does that process work.
So this is what you have to do, and then if you go to go back to the middle school, that was down, mainly Saturday school is there. It's the behavior report. It's on the website. To get Saturday school is in the middle one. So, and as I said, Saturday school is to avoid escalation and going all the way to in-school house to suspension.
And parents are notified anytime a violation occurs to say.
And so how often are you all giving a Saturday school and the parent is challenging?
Yeah, it happens more frequently now than when we started.
Yeah.
It's something I call pre-COVID and post-COVID, sincerely. Because I started the Saturday school years ago. I was principal and head of school. I would have one family challenge, and so that I call them friends, families that challenge it all the time. I said, and there's nobody who ever missed Saturday school all the way to miss something. Now we have kids. I think one of the reasons also is, especially this year, where I've seen kids who refuse to come to Saturday school, period. So I had to intervene. I mean, that when Dr. Paul was absent, I had to intervene and call the parents and say, hey, you have a choice, bring your kids here, or you will keep them out of school suspension to stay home. And everybody brought them here. And that helped kids understand we were joking to stop. We've had many kids, same kids, they continue to do whatever they're doing and then not refusing to come to Saturday school. And I had to call and say, hey, and talk to them, and they to stop it. But again, it's our behavior report form, what you need to do to have in or out of school suspension.
And only in or out of school is on the entered in Tyler.
Right.
That's right.
On there,
Yeah, that's what it's entered in Tyler. It's the last two here.
Here's the bottom line, we really want to keep our kids in the classroom, right? I mean, and that's why I think Saturday school is such a great option. I mean, if you think about profanity against a staff member or academic dishonesty, I mean, I just think those are things that we need to have consequences for, but I want kids to be in that classroom getting as much of that teacher and that learning as they can. I just don't understand why parents would ever not agree with Saturday school.
Well, because they believe that whatever reason was on the table for the Saturday school, they don't agree it actually took place.
Right.
And so that's the part where I do wonder whether or not the checks and balances, you know, like if I'm the teacher in the classroom and I said student A is disruptive or whatnot, but the group of students over here I'm not noticing, and the student A all of a sudden gets Saturday school and everyone's trying to figure out what happened here, I do wonder whether or not the filter is there to make sure that our biases in the classroom are not showing up. Because even the time I've been able to spend in the classroom, I can clearly see that there are kids who are able to have conversations and do things and nobody notices it. And there are other kids who are sitting there to where I'm not even noticing their behaviors, but they're being assigned to Saturday school. And I sat in the classroom the whole day and I'm like, really? He got Saturday school? I'm surprised. And so I still question whether or not we're doing what we need to in regards to our administrators, because they have their own, and they're amazing people, but there are things they simply don't see, and then they don't realize what they're doing, the impact the decisions they're making on these students, and really isolating some and then ostracizing others for behaviors that other groups of students are honestly being rewarded for. It's crazy to watch it in real time, and our teachers just not being mindful as to how they're impacting these students.
Right.
And so, honestly, like, I'm enjoying my time in the classroom. I love it, but I'm surprised at how disconnected some of our teachers are in regards to how they're interacting with the students. And even in real time, being in these classrooms saying, hey, why is this kid sitting by herself during a group discussion? Why, it's like questions like that. And they're like, oh, it's like, I just think there has to be a little bit more of a checks and balances system, because by the time the child gets Saturday school and they don't know why they got Saturday school, it's kind of problematic. And then by the time you're having conversations with the parents in regards to why the kid has Saturday school and nobody understands it, and then when you challenge as the parent and then the teacher can't justify it, it's hard. And then it makes everyone question the entire system. And then when you look at the numbers in regards to the Black students who are being disciplined, now it makes sense to me, because I sat in the classroom and I had no idea why this kid got Saturday school, and I was in the classroom all day long. So yeah, I just think that we have to work harder to make sure our teachers and our teachers are mindful as to how they're showing up in the classroom as well.
Right. And thank you for clarifying that, because disruptive behavior would not have been, that was not the example I used. I mean, I used that profanity, so I totally understand where you're coming from now.
Because even that defiant repetition of behavior, that's objective. What is defined? What does that mean? That's very subjective.
It is.
And so I just wonder whether or not we need to, there needs to be a checks and balances system, because it'll.
We're making sure that we all have clarity as teachers and administrators what that is.
Right.
So.
And making sure that there's classroom management and continuing training of classroom management, because I think sometimes that's when.
And then understanding what's the bias, right? Everybody brings biases to the table that they don't recognize they have, but it comes out in the consequences you dole out.
Because when you have some students talking out in class and everybody thinks it's cute, we're all giggling at it, and then another child speaks out in class, all of a sudden they're reprimanded for it in real time, and they don't understand why they're being disciplined for the behaviors that have been perpetuated all hour long by this other group of students. And even sitting there, they're a cute little cackly group of students, but nonetheless, they're cackling through the entire class. And it's not problematic, but then you have other kids who speak out and all of a sudden it's problematic. And so I can definitely see that we need some work in that space, because it's almost like, again, the personal biases are showing. If you're kind of irritated by this one kid, this whole group of three is not bothering you.
So, remember, it's a conversation we have. We have French school, international school, with international staff, the perception of discipline, the American kids, and American parents coming together, and understanding also the responsibility of kids to behave in class, responsibility of administration to train teachers to understand the culture. So, I think again, compared to, of course, the overall representation is this, and we need to fight to make sure it happens. But what we look for is one teacher. We checked the two. Who's the teacher who gives more? We did it last year, we do it this year, and realize is it a new teacher, somebody who, or veteran teacher? Generally, it's not veteran teacher. Generally, new teacher is the same teacher, and so on. But if a child has the same challenge as all the teachers, now we don't put it on teachers, we look at what's happening to the child. The last one also is parents' cooperation is extremely helpful. When parents cooperate with schools, we don't have these issues in general. Okay? And one is fighting it and not recognizing that there's a challenge to work with us, it encourages this behavior. And I think the analysis should be a multi-pronged approach of looking at the same problem, and I'm not from the teacher's point of view, bias and so on, but from families supporting the schools, what they're trying to do, and putting also countries on the child. If a child get out and break a window, that's the fact. And personally, anytime I meet with the principals, we look at the data. I also challenge them and look at what's happening. I think personally, again, I don't want to put everything on COVID path, but we've seen, and it's nationwide, we've seen a huge problem of absenteeism and behavior and so on happening. But I will then go and look at what we have for the strength of the data and making sure those things happen. One more thing I want to also ask the school administrators, we here to support the kids. If you're not caring, we can work with them and support them. Look at what their challenges, but we make sure also they learn. What issue we may have in most public schools is administration teachers back off, and you have chaos. Because, again, the kids I told you about Saturday school here, I went on and looked at things because I was the principal, and look at things and talk to teachers and defiance and something. I even went to class to check what the behavior. It's like a defiance, like until somebody say, hey, this is not acceptable. It's some stuff. It's family, and then you see real improvement. And last but not least, of course, our new teachers, we need to do more efforts also, not to help them better understand and doing tick for tack, like every kid is different. And like every teacher is different. Somebody will be talking. If you follow them instead of talking, you give them Saturday school all along. You need to manage them based on how they are, and that's why sometimes people talk about it's not fair. This person did this, and you don't have consequence. Why me? Sometimes you may have a kid where, if you follow them, like if they do touch the bottom and give them Saturday school, they'll be spending the night here. So fortunately, we need to manage kids based on their reality, what's happening at home, how we can support them, the challenge where it come from, and so on. The kids who are great, but they cannot be quiet. They'll be talking all the time and touching people here and there. We need to take that into account, not just giving them mark all the time. And that, a new teacher may not know that, might not factor it. And some veteran teacher will always make sure to manage it without escalating to a mark or to an out-of-school suspension. It's a reality, it's a discussion, and this data is also shared with teachers and has a good discussion at the school level. But yeah, it's an issue we need to tackle.
So has Saturday school proven effective? Because you described it as sort of a way to, it's kind of a warning before the suspension. So the kids go to Saturday school, do they tend to change their behavior and stay out of trouble, or do we see a lot of kids starting Saturday school and then become suspended? I guess it's really effective to bring them back into
let's say you don't have Saturday school. What do you do when kids do this? I mean, they repeat it twice, you give them in-school suspension, as opposed to giving them a mark. So these things will happen anyway in any class. We'll have profanity, we'll have misuse of technology. Either you ignore them and it continues to happen anyway, or you find a warning, 2 warnings, 3 warnings, and bring them to in-school suspension or out-of-school suspension. That's why we cut down those things that the idea of Saturday school was, okay, you're in class and you're disturbing my class, you owe me 1 hour because it's 1 period. If you do it 3 times, disturbing the class, 3 times, it's 3 hours, then you bring it to school to do it. 3 times within a month, I would say. If you do it twice in a month, it goes away. So you're not gonna come into Saturday school unless you concentrate, continue doing it after the warning. And before you get a mark, you have a verbal warning. It's not just to disturb the class and you get a mark. You get a verbal warning to stop. But again, no matter what rule we have, our new teachers, especially brand new teachers or people who are new to the country, we need to make more efforts to make sure they have the same understanding of managing kids without, if you do this, I do this, and it creates more Saturday school suspension. When you look at the data last year, that's what we saw. Newer teachers leaving more Saturday school than veteran teachers. Sure. Because they're thinking I'm following the rules. That's what it is. The rule says I'm following it. And that's where we need to have more common sense, or not common sense, but some understanding that kids are different. Where am I now?
One last question, if I could, and that is for the frequent flyers. I call them the frequent flyers when I was principal. Those are the ones that I see more frequently. What kind of supports, there needs to be consequences, but what kind of supports are given to the frequent flyers who are always seemingly the ones who either are truly being disruptive, or what kind of support? They definitely need consequences, but what kind of supports are given?
We always work with we have a social worker who work with some kids, counseling and helping, putting in place a behavior improvement plan with support and consequences at the same time. Each of them will have improvement plan, and with agreement with the parents and the students and the teacher, and say, okay, this is how we encourage, this is how we check. Before it escalates to a suspension, this is what we need to do every day. So, and then we look at it every day and see how it's improving before we move forward. At the end of the day, I think again, when the two entities, home and school, they work together and not pushing the blame to each other, you generally have a good result. I remember having when I was at Oak, even though it's head of school, some parents or grandparents, great-grandparents, I'll give them a cell phone, they call me on Saturday. They have things or anytime, because the kids that we needed really extra support to make sure they continue and help them. Because some of them did not probably trust the system. But I like working with the grandparents or great-grandparents who want to support their kids. Yes, yeah. So I just said again, we're going to be continuing the conversation at the building level and the principals and see how we get more information about the socioeconomic and look at also teachers by grade. We know we're in grade level, sounds great, what we have there and what teachers is happening. Diversity, is Kelly here?
Did she show up?
I don't think so.
Yeah, she was
Oh, I
joining.
didn't see that.
Kelly?
Okay.
I'm here.
Yeah, there she is.
So yes, I made it actually. So good afternoon or good evening, everyone. The diversity committee, we've had our parent series. We had our second event, which has, we didn't have as many people show up, but we definitely, the first time we did it back in January or February, we did have some people, or January, we had some people come. So I was really excited about that. But the event focused on reading in bilingual programs, which was held at Armour. It was also Black History Month, so we had the reading sessions. That was a great success too. The kids loved it. They learned a lot from the teachers and parents, and we definitely appreciate them doing those sessions this year. The parents enjoyed, going to the classroom and, definitely have asked for more opportunities for the classroom as well. We'll continue to explore the possibilities of doing something during the holidays to kind of focus on traditions or different cultures, or something during like Women's History Month. In addition, we were also looking at the library audit. The audit has been completed in all three buildings. We will analyze the gaps and see how we can fill the need by the next school year. So
Love
that's
that.
what's going on with the diversity committee. So those that were, board members, if you guys can try to, come, it was really very, very informative, and just really a good time. So thanks for all those that did come and even helped. So I appreciate that.
Awesome.
Any questions? I think the next one is, we're having another one in
Okay.
March or April?
In April?
April one, about our middle and high school.
Yes.
And are we inviting the people that we pulled from the lottery to
Yeah,
that?
yeah, we need to invite, we talked about inviting everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the prospective
parents.
Yes.
And the community.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So this is beautiful picture from Jerry. And they become the stars of the city, so they're blue and red. Good.
Looks good. We have some from board members too.
This one.
I think.
Oh, yay. I was just thinking, I want one.
Give you five, I'll give you one.
We don't, we'll buy more. Awesome.
Recognition from Gawada kindergarten teacher for recognition to her for effective adaptation to her new position as kindergarten teacher in our school. Her class is now a very successful learning environment for our student. Bravo, Francoise. Extremely successful in reading. I want to recognize and thank Marlene Hines. Marlene has been doing a great job coordinating all these foreign trips. Amazing job. JP Draven, Christy Butcher, who is a student, who is in the middle. Diane Damian for hosting the first ALIHS, Académie Lafayette International High School Ethnic Food Festival to raise funds for students traveling to Senegal and Costa Rica. The event was a phenomenal success and raised $7,500. I think that it was really good, and the student is part of a IB class who created the event, and it was extremely successful. Hopefully, as Leslie say, maybe we can make it a city event. People would love to. And the venue was small because we were expecting many people.
Yeah.
And maybe having ethnic food festival in the school, people would like to come and enjoy a good drink. But
Yeah,
it's
didn't
good.
the food sell, like, the food was gone in less
Like
than
in
an
an
hour?
hour? Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
And you showed up, I was like,
I know, you were like, sorry.
yeah.
And
That's
that's
amazing.
to let you know that the 12th graders flew to Guadeloupe today, coming with the 23rd. It's our first foreign trip for our 12th grade.
Oh, fun.
Remember, we were supposed to go last year to Senegal, and with everything going on now, we're going to Guadeloupe. We still have 2 groups in June going to Costa Rica and Senegal. So it's a great, fun high school. They're having a lot of new things happening. And thanks to the board for subsidizing some of these trips. Teacher Advisory Council, as I said, we set up a teacher advisory council. We have 6 teachers. I meet with them every month, and I will go over different things we discuss, and a couple of things that we're working on. They're requesting to see if we can compensate unused sick days. This will encourage people not to be absent, because after 300 hours, I mean, anything left, you're losing them. So we do, it's a preliminary information to board. I'm not saying do it, but we need to look at what would be the financial impact and what it means before we do something like this. But I want to share with you that this is what it was shared by the teachers' representative. Professional development also was one of the shared about to improve. So we already sent the job description for the committee and looking for teachers to be part of it, and they're compensated. Our first job would be to revise the 5-year professional development plan every year. We will do it in August and not August, in April and May. Share it with the team before the end of the school year, and it's going to be updated every year. And this committee will be meeting once a month to plan for the next PD committee. We will be looking at the budget and then discuss the budget in a very transparent way, getting teachers involved in whatever we decide for professional development. And last but not least, this is something we discussed at the finance committee, because our salary starts at 35. So if you are 36 years, and this is every district, school district anyway, some are 20, some are 25, some are 30. My first year when I arrived, we started at 20. And every year the board will vote to see how much money to add to those who are cut. So we decided, now let's move it to 25 to 30, and now 35. We have teachers at 35. Great teachers, amazing teachers. So we don't want to penalize them. They worth their weight in gold, so we want to keep them, and that's why we want to keep adding, going beyond that. So we would like the board to approve it. So it's not the right one then. Maybe it's this one. Okay.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
The one is sharing? Yep, that's right. The one sharing with me. You see, it stopped at 35. Now we're adding 5 more years with 40. Okay? So we had also some rearrangement of this first two year 0 and year 1. It created a lot of confusion, and we changed it a little bit to create less confusion for year 0 and year 1. It used to be the same salary, and it created problems. So this is what we want the board to approve today. Do you have anything about?
No, so it is just a 1.5% increase as you increase in the steps.
So per year.
Per year, yep. And if you're looking at the far right lane, if you're trying to quantify how much of an impact that is, so from the 88,000 that it was at, from step 35 down to the 95,000, that's like a $25,000 impact jump, so that increases 1.5% each year up to that $25,000. So there is a little bit of an impact there, but our teachers are definitely worth it. So
and how many are going to be?
So right now only one,
Right.
but in the next 5 years, 6 years, maybe 3.
Yeah, we have 3 coming in the next 3 or 4 years.
That's an impressive teacher.
Yes,
Yeah,
extremely impressive.
Very committed.
Great teachers. And generally, we try to, every 3 years, try to revise it and increase it. Probably next year, if the finances looks fine, we need to do that.
Okay. Any year we can increase teacher salaries. I think it's always a good thing.
Yes. All right, can I get a motion to approve a 1.5% increase, raising it after 35 years to 40 years? Is that fair enough?
So moved.
Okay.
I second it.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Lauren raised her hand. Oh, that was a yes.
No,
Okay.
I was
Shannon.
raised for the
Sorry.
yes.
Yes, sorry. All right, motion carries.
So applications data for the breakdown in minority and for total applicants from K to 12 was 62% minority application and 38% non-minority. Kindergarten is 53% non-minority and 47% minority. I'm surprised by one, by the way.
Yeah.
I thought it was less than that, but anyway, which is good. Which means we're on track. Ninth grade, 47% non-minority, 56% minority. And siblings, which is normal, 63% non-minority and 43% minority.
And this is applications or those that were chosen in the lottery?
Kindergarten, I would say, is the same group. Kindergarten, first grade is the same group.
Oh, right, because we didn't have,
no-
okay, right, thank you for that reminder.
So, we took more than what we need.
Yeah.
If you were stopping where we will have small wait lists, but we just took everybody.
Yeah.
And knowing that some will decline.
But how, like, close is this to the numbers that we anticipate? Like, for ninth grade applications, is that 5 students, or is that close to a full class?
It's mainly applicants coming from other schools that we have. That's what we have. Especially, we have more and more applicants coming from KVI and to the International Academy. More and more.
They don't have high school, it's just
it's middle school.
middle school.
So we also have some applicants from other private schools.
But, so you only turn in an application if you're from outside, 8th graders don't submit an application.
No.
Have we started to survey 8th graders to know how many of them say they're planning to attend?
They enrolled. We're in the enrollment process.
Which just started last
No. Started now. It ended
This week,
one of the 6th.
yeah.
The 6th, but they're continuing, by the way. They're still continuing.
So at the next board meeting, we might have a better idea of.
At the next board meeting, you maybe know how many will accept it with this application and what kind we have.
So ninth grade right now just represents people who do not attend AL.
Yes.
I've got it.
And we don't have a first grade here, so we also took around 27 first graders coming out. We don't know yet what will be the retention rate from kindergarten to first grade. So I think that one issue that we have though is a trend of imbalance between K and Oak in kindergarten. We have a trend there. When we started the process we had, we almost had the identical, very similar ethnic composition of K and Oak kindergarten when we accepted it. But the last 2 years, we've seen an imbalance, more minority at Cherry than adult. Cherry is almost, kindergarten is almost 53% minority, which is much less minority at all. So we're looking into that and see, is it linked to the catchment zone? And what's the number of decline of minority going to Oak as opposed to decline going to Cherry?
Because they'd be too far from where they live, is that just so I
We provide transportation anyway, so.
But it can have an impact.
I'm sure.
It can have impact. Last year, the attrition rate of minority at Oak was much higher than at Cherry.
The attrition rate of minorities at Oak was high.
Much higher than at Cherry.
And we don't know why.
That's what we're analyzing and seeing. We're gonna look at all these things and make sure that we're ready for addressing.
So if somebody wants to leave the school because they don't want to be at Oak, do we say you can stay at Cherry, or do we let them go?
We don't change that. That one, we're not flexible at all. Once you start doing that, it become a court. Now, you will have maximum 3 people doing that. But once you do it, possibility it become 30 people a year. You have people from both races wanting to go one way or another.
Is last year the first year we looked at attrition by different factors? I mean,
Every year we do.
So is it different last year because it started to maybe diverge between the two buildings?
We look at every year. We look at because we survey. We do an exit form for parents who leave the school, and we look into that also. Look at what would be the cost, and we also encourage the director of admissions and the principal and vice principal to call those parents and ask them really what are the issues.
But last year's the first year that it stood out as an issue.
Yeah,
We look at those trends, it was more of an issue last year than we had seen.
I guess that was my point. And if we, right.
So what did the surveys reveal? Can you share what was the reason?
I'll go and check it. I don't have it in my head, but I'll go and check it. I think we shared it last year, but you need to go again and look at it again.
And I do think those are really critical to take a close look at as we just think about what's underlying that issue. There's something there.
I was still a presentation at the beginning of the meeting.
Right, yeah.
Right. Then we have the conversation when we discuss retention, when we share the numbers and look at the survey and look at the courses.
And we've talked about considering third-party exit interviews as well.
Yeah, again, change is becoming more diverse and, Friends Coffee happened last week, and we have a reading week, of course, with Black History for March and from March to 4th, and the Ethnic Festival, we just talked about it. Recruiting is going well. I think we are in a better position, and the number of teachers who indicate they're leaving is still relatively below what we expected, but we now don't know until the first day of school because people may leave for any reason in July. But at this point, we may finish our recruitment for K-5 very quickly, but we still have something to fill up in middle and high school. We're still looking for a vice principal for Armor here. Next year we'll have vice principal. Congressman Kilgore visited and Federal Judge Brian Howans and radio host Jim Nunnally visited Oak for the Black History Month. It was a great one. I saw it on his Facebook page. And high school student produced a very nice Midsummer Night's Dream, great one.
Was sold out. It tried to go.
It was a great one. For 10 days.
It was hard to get tickets.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. A lot of work, and I would like also to congratulate Kate after 2 years in a row. She did a fantastic job. A lot of tons of work, tons of professional things. This year we had the mics, the sound was much better, the light, and maybe we need an auditorium, a professional one, and have a fantastic thing.
Right. She is a phenomenal theater teacher. I hear amazing things about her.
Oh, so we would teach on staff, we just teach just,
Or that's not her full time.
And English and theater.
Right.
But this is for after school program.
Yeah.
Okay, no motion coming. This is for operation facility maintenance. We are considering hiring a full-time facility maintenance instead of contracting it. We think that we will be saving us $55,000 a year for maintenance. I would like to have Howard if one with and
Sure.
elaborate.
Currently, right now, we're spending about $108,000 a year contracting it out with MC Realty with that. I do know the past experience with Académie Lafayette, they've had a full-time person in the past. Kind of branched off with that when I believe that person left or retired. we do have some good applicants that would be able to fulfill this role. They're probably currently doing the job now.
Simon, do you have anything to add about the saving part?
No additional comments there.
Since it's saving finance, it's, yeah.
Because
We talked about that, not this past board, finance meeting, but the finance meeting before.
And because it's a new hire, again, it's a board authorization to do that. That's why I approached you.
Yeah. So can we get a motion to approve the hiring of a full-time facility maintenance staff?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
So security entrances are completed, or if you go to visit either Oak, Taylor, or Armor, you have a double entrance here where you can screen somebody before they admit it. We did it in at all three buildings, and we also have the what's the name of that system again? Checking people for the Raptor will be implemented soon, so ready to do. We're thinking also here in this building, on the other part, the hallway, to install another security entrance for kids who come here, because this is for mainly for visitors, and here to do it for, and we already have the metal detector here, so we can install them over there. At this point, we discussed whether or not we're going to move that wall, the other wall of the classroom, move it all the way to the pillar and have a wider space to put more kids and screening, or just use the hallway as it is now with the double entry. So very likely will be having metal detector for this building. Lawn service, request for proposal completed, tips lawn service bid recipient now, we're using it, and we renegotiated the trash service, is a Republic trash service, and it will save us 50%.
I might add a little bit on this. We're currently using Republic now, but we're getting a lot of contamination fee, extra charges for like that oak and sherry, where a lot of times at the first of the month, we'll see a lot of mattresses, box springs, couches, and things like that. I'm sure if you've gone to those, you'll see those.
Also from people from the neighborhood.
Right, or wherever. And so that was adding to our cost.
Yeah.
And currently, we're averaging about $11.83 a month per location. So right now, we got a fixed rate of $600 per month per location. So that's roughly going to save us about $20,000 per year. And that was just a simple phone call. But also, I wanted to compare and contrast as well with some other providers in town, like Waste Management and Nick's trash removal as well. So we did that. We shared that with Republic. They were able to take that and analyze it, plus with some of the overage that we're getting charged. And so that will help us immensely.
And we got a cost savings without having to keep neighbors from throwing it in?
Well, you know, what we could do with that is that down the road, the best way to do that is to, you see a lot of fast food restaurants and things like that. They'll do the CMU or the block walls around it and do a fence and then lock that fence. And then you give that key to whoever that trash provider is. That's probably the best way to do it. But it doesn't keep it out 100% because you'll see them pile it up outside, like apartment complexes and things like that. So, you know, that's a contamination fee on itself. The best way to prevent that is to put those swing gates.
Right, at the edge of the parking lot.
When you lock it up on the weekends and things like that, because majority of your contamination comes over on a Saturday or Sunday when they're moving. So you can put those swing gates at those entrances. Because here, at Armor, we don't have it.
Interesting.
That's just my past experience, not that I've done it.
No, you caught it, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, technology, we're moving to Power School for next year. The Skyway is no longer in existence, will be bought, and we try to look into another one, but finally we decided to go with power school. Mock test 2024, we are meeting once a week, make sure everything's ready and successful. E-rate as Steven said, is posted for management, the IT department submission deadline is March 15th, and we think that our Chromebooks will be paid by E-rate, $150,000. ALL test, English language learners test has been set up, and the test is actually ongoing for students who need it. It's a screening test for English language learners. One thing also with this test here is to analyze our need for technology renewal. It's a lot of money. If you were a cherry parent, you look at those New board, they're dinosaurs, they don't function anymore. We bought them in 2013. The first one, we had a grant of $150,000 from Spring, and then we bought smart boards for Oak. So Cherry has medium boards that not only existent, so, and Oak smart boards is working kind of a little bit. He also have smart board and smart TV. So the goal is to equip all the classes with smart TV like in high school. And it's a lot of money, 250,000, something like that, 300,000 maybe. It's a lot of money for the whole school. We can fund it with fundraising from IT companies or different companies like we did years ago with $150,000. I think part of it was from our technology currently from Kaufman and from Spring. Years ago, 10 years ago, and then this year probably having some grant for technology, but also maybe from our reserve fund, because it's important we update, if possible, our technology for our teachers next year.
Okay.
I think I'm done. Any question for me, about anything? Any concern, any, whatever you have? About the school, no?
No.
So I'm meeting with the teacher advisory council on Thursday. We have a concert that will then we're going to continue the discussion and look at the financial impact of anything we do before, and then move through the finance committee before it comes back to the board.
Okay. All right, good news. I have nothing to say for the president's report, but we are going to go into closed session. So you're not free yet. So we're going to go into closed session to discuss real estate, legal, and personnel matters. So if I can get a roll call vote to go into closed session.
I think we need a motion to go in.
A motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second. All right. Now, roll call vote.
Beth, yes.
Gwen, yes.
Jen, yes.
Olivier, yes.
Lisa, yes.
Can we get the Zoom, Lauren?
Lauren, yes.
TJ?
I wonder if we lost TJ.
Pam? Kelly?
Kelly, yes.
And Michelle, yes. All right.
Turn off YouTube Live.
Yes. Everybody, 5-minute final break while they